Onegaishimasu. I'll read number 16, Kiatsu. I have learned the principle of mind and body unification, and I understand key breathing. I understand that the universal key moves through my body at any time and in any circumstance. Let's give a fresh start towards happiness to people who suffer from illness or misfortune by key of the universe moving through our body. This is like priming a water pump when it is dried out, to pull new water up through the pump. Well, so before I say anything about Kiatsu, I would like to remind you, if you don't remember, that this is the 22nd of May. And on this date in 2009, the guiding light of Maui Aikido went out. Suzuki Sensei left Earth. So I just want to honor him and say thank you for everything he gave us for all those years. So you know, I think you all know, but maybe not every one of you. Through the years, these various writings of Toi Sensei have been at times retranslated. And so again, recently, I've asked Sayaka Reasoner, who is fluent, of course, in Japanese and English, to help me retranslate this back to their original words, because through the years, they've been changed considerably. And so sometimes we find there's a lot of changes, sometimes we find there's very few, but that's what we're doing, and I will go through the principles with you in just a moment after we do a little bit of key breathing. So please sit up straight. I'd like to begin with Sayaka Reasoner reading the 5 principles in Japanese, please.
Kiatsu 療法の5原則。1、成果の一点より気を出す。2、体に力を滞らせない。3、筋を壊さないよう中心に向かって直角に押す。4、指の先端を無限小に集中する。5、点を考えず流れを考える。
Okay, thank you very much. All right, this time I'm going to read the old translation, new translation, one principle at a time. So, old translation, principle number 1, extend ki from the one point in the lower abdomen. New translation, exactly the same, extend ki from the one point in the lower abdomen. Number 2, old translation, do not let tension accumulate in your body. A new translation, do not stop the flow of ki. Old translation, number 3, press perpendicularly toward the center of the muscle without forcing. New translation, press perpendicularly towards the center of the body. Number 4, old translation, focus ki continuously and precisely at the fingertips. New translation, concentrate infinitely small at the fingertips. And number 5, old translation, concentrate on the lines rather than the points. And the new translation is be aware of the flow and not the points. Very, very similar. Those words have power. Words have meaning. Even if they sound the same meaning, the same concept to you in your conscious mind, in your subconscious mind, words are very powerful. So which words we use in a teaching like this, the principles that guide us in practicing Kiatsu Ryoho, is very important. So I really appreciate Sayaka's help all these years in translating so many of these documents. I think it's made a big difference. It really awakened me to many possibilities that I didn't always know were there. So for Kiatsu, of course, this is Zoom. So I can't get at you. You can't get at me. So I have no way to teach you how to touch. But that's all right. We've found that in this kind of a class, maybe we cover some things that we wouldn't cover in a regular class where there's just the experience happening. One of the things that is very important to understand about Kiatsu is in the first two. Extend ki from the one point of the lower abdomen and do not stop the flow of ki. You know, of course, the teaching of Kiatsu is for pressing with ki. So it's for when you have some sort of illness or injury or low energy, then a friend can touch you with their fingertips or thumb for some period of time and boost your spirits, let's say, to encourage you to dig deeper and discover that you're actually connected with the universe and you shouldn't feel so bad. And this is very, very helpful. You know, sometimes the mistake we make when we practice something like Kiatsu is we think we're going to heal someone or we think we're going to fix someone. You know, we've been talking a lot about this obsession we all have with fixing other people. So here's another opportunity for you to imagine that you're going to fix somebody. But that's not really what's happening. You know, if you see somebody that's a friend and you see that they feel badly, you know, you might say something to them, kind and supportive, with your voice. You might just touch them somewhere, just on the shoulder or on the hand. Huh? Or you might even embrace them, give them a hug, make them feel better. And this is not because you're practicing some Kiatsu. This is not because you're practicing some special form of Aikido. No, it's not artificial. It's not phony. It's completely natural. When you feel empathy for another person, you respond like this. This is being a human being. And this is what Suzuki Koichi Toei Sensei is trying to teach us. Always, remember, always he wants us to be natural. So in everything that we're doing, including anything to do with being with another human being, in some sense, this is Kiatsu. This is a natural Kiatsu. When I'm speaking to you right now, my voice is transmitting ki of the universe, right? So always this is what each one of you do when you're with other people, okay? Now, Toei Sensei says in the ki saying, the shoshu that I read tonight, you know, that we've learned ki breathing, and we've learned the ki method of allowing ki to move through our body, which is, of course, this is true. right? Because if this were not happening, you would be dead. So anything living means ki is moving through you already. But to what degree is ki moving through you, see? I explained the other night, our practice is to notice what arises out of our subconscious mind and comes out of our mouth or turns into some kind of action, right? And so when this happens often enough, and it's something that's maybe not in our best interest or someone else's best interest, when that happens often enough, and we notice it often enough, then we become aware of it, sort of ultra aware of it, keenly aware of it. I call it illumination in surfeit. When you've seen enough of it, you wake up to it. Once you wake up to this, then the change automatically starts to happen. It loses its power over you when you notice it, when you recognize what you're doing. Okay? So that changes the nature of your subconscious mind. That changes the nature of your conscious mind. It changes the nature of how ki moves through your body. Because whenever you have some sort of issue or problem or something like that, this creates tension in your body. And it makes you feel weird. It makes you feel uncomfortable. And it prevents ki from moving easily through your body. So in other words, every time we notice something and take its power away, then we get more and more relaxed. We get more and more calm. We become extending ki on a deeper and deeper level. So that when we're speaking or when we're giving Kiatsu to another person, so when we're even embrace another person, or even when we sit next to another person, there is a much stronger communication between us. Not necessarily in concept, but in actual experience. You know, when I mentioned Suzuki Sensei passed away back in 2009, and I was still very, very busy with my work. So I was only able to come to the hospital, which is where he stayed the last three weeks or so before he died. I was only be able to come to his room maybe 1 hour a day, not much more. But my wife, Lynn, who is very, very close to Suzuki Sensei, was able to come and spend long hours there. So whenever I came, she was there already, just sitting by the side of his bed, holding his hand, or with her hand on his arm, just sitting there with her eyes closed. So she was giving him Kiatsu. Do you understand? Maybe she wasn't pressing some part of his body, but he was dying, okay? So no hope of recovery. We all knew. He knew. In fact, he only was in and out of consciousness for maybe a week. So he couldn't really talk to us much. But this, to me, when I saw this, I thought this is the real meaning of Kiatsu, without any expectation of fixing anyone, without any expectation of reward coming to you. Just because you have this empathy, you have this compassion for this person. And you know, when you give Kiatsu, you always get Kiatsu. Do you know? I'm sure. I mean, Lynn has not talked to me about this, but I just observed what was happening. But I'm sure that she received powerful ki from him when she was giving him. So there's an exchange. Whenever, even you know, when I'm sitting, like I said, just talking to you like this, and you are all here, so there's an exchange that I receive also. So everybody's ki is elevated during this class. Very, very positive, very helpful. I hope for all of you, certainly for me. Okay, so there's been a lot of discussion about how hard you press. I don't know if you can see. Can you see? Well, maybe that doesn't matter so much. But so when you actually are practicing Kiatsu with another person, you touch them and take up the slack. That's it. You touch and you take up the slack. Then I'll explain a little bit about why or how that works. But of course, you're often pressing a sore shoulder or a headache or a sore neck, or a sore arm or sore knee, some part, ankle, foot, some part of your body that you've bruised maybe in Aikido or some other way. So we're often touching something that's very sore. So first of all, don't go barging in and start sticking your finger in somebody's sore knee. So the method is we touch and take up the slack. And as we touch and take up the slack, we let go of all intention to change anything. You don't think, fix, 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 fix. Just because you're not doing anything. You're as Toi Sensei says, you are letting the ki of the universe flow through your body. The more calm you are, the more relaxed you are, the more you feel empathy and compassion for the other person. Of course, the feeling is what counts. So just take up the slack and just sit in deep, deep meditation. He said, let your mind rest, extend ki from the one point in the lower abdomen, right? So you're going to just rest in the lower abdomen, take up the slack, and be with the other person, okay? That's why he says that be with the flow. The last one is about the be aware of the flow. Don't forget about the point, like, does it hurt there? Does it hurt there? Is that the spot? Okay. No, don't go after people like that. So there are times, there are circumstances. I experienced one, I'll tell you about, where you might maybe use a little more intensity when you press. So one time I was at a seminar with Toi Sensei, and he began the seminar with a television interview, and then he wanted to do randori with 6 of us. So we were all sitting on the side, and he did his television interview, and then with the television cameras running, of course, then he jumped up and said, okay, attack, and we all attacked. And in the process of this, probably I was showing off a little bit because the camera was there. I was a young man. And I separated my shoulder. It was very painful. But I was all hot and I just kept going. And then the next morning, when I came back to come to the seminar, I couldn't move my arm at all. I couldn't lift my arm. And it was extremely sore. And I came to Toi Sensei and I said, Sensei, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to train probably for the rest of the seminar because I hurt my shoulder yesterday. And he looked at me like, what? Sit down. And he said, you want me to fix? And I said, well, yeah. So he said, take your shirt off. So I took my shirt off. And he said, everyone come watch. So everyone came and sat down. And he picked up my arm gently. And a little more, little more, little more, little more. And with his thumb, he put his thumb all the way inside the joint in my arm. It was so painful that tears were streaming down my face in front of all my friends. And he kept saying, okay, okay, okay. And I was going, no, no, not okay. Ow. Yeah. And he said, finally, I said to him, Sensei, I thought you taught us that we're supposed to just take up the slack, right? Touch very lightly. And he said, well, yes, I did teach you that. That's if you want to be fixed in 6 months. But if you want to be fixed today, then I have to do something else, okay? So, and by the time he was done, I could do this. I could move my arm completely. And I trained the rest of the seminar. Now, it did hurt, you know, it wasn't sort of so-called fixed, but you know, I was able to train. And he gave me some exercises to do, and eventually it was fine. So there are circumstances where it might be called upon to do more than just what I'm telling you, just take up the slack and extend ki, which is basically all that the 5 principles tells you to do. But please don't do that unless you are Toi Sensei. Make sure that you are very highly experienced with Kiatsu before you start deciding that, oh, this is a case where I've got to really crank it up. So please be more careful. Okay, so I think that's enough from me for right now. I think you have some questions, comments. Please unmute yourself and speak to me. Please ask me.
Hi, Sensei. I have a question for you. You said when you were starting with the translation, you talked about how when Sayaka translated a lot of these shokushu's that it opened up you to different possibilities. Can you give us an example of those? What you discerned from the translations from Japanese versus what was written in English?
I can almost pick every sentence. You know, I mean, like, for instance, it says number 5, concentrate. The old translation was concentrate on the lines rather than the points. But what it actually says, what Toi Sensei actually said was, be aware of the flow, not the points. That's completely different. And it opened up a whole new way of seeing, feeling, experiencing Kiatsu to me because of that. And you know, I could go on. I mean, so he says, don't let tension accumulate in your body. That's a no-no. That's an order. Don't do this. Whereas don't stop the flow of ki. Maybe that's an order too, but it's much more positive to me. In fact, if I were to translate it again, I'd probably say, allow free flow of the ki. You know. Now, of course, so here's the difficult thing about this. You know, what I was talking about, the change, how change happens. We always want to make something happen. And several people have asked me over the last couple of weeks, what should I stop doing? Or how do I stop doing that? You don't stop doing it. When you have a bad habit, it just keeps going, okay? What you do is you notice it. What you do is you turn on the light. Like when you go into a dark room, you don't run around trying to chase the darkness away. That's what you're doing when you're trying to not do something. You're trying to get rid of the bad. You just turn on the light. That's all you do and the darkness is gone. The same thing is true in our heads, you know, in our minds. We just turn on our awareness. We don't have to drive away the evil. This is a big mistake in our society through the last thousands of years. You don't have to chase away that which you perceive as evil. You perceive it because you're misunderstanding. You don't understand. Turn on the light so that you understand, so that you can see. So all of these, when not only does Sayaka translate them, but I also edit them into proper English, because sometimes you can't translate them directly. So I have to do something with them. But always I keep in mind, as much as possible, try to remember to do it positively, to do it, yeah, I guess the word is positively, but with support, not with tearing down. This is wrong, don't do this. No, but try this. Yeah, the other part of both Koichi Toei Sensei and Shinichi Toei Sensei have emphasized very strongly, every seminar I've ever had with them, that the way to teach is to inspire them, the student, to see for themselves, kigatsuka, to awaken to the possibility. So when I say that it awakens me to possibilities, I'm not kidding. That's the whole thing about language too. And being able to get directly, Tracy, directly to Toei Sensei's words, his own language. Because you never know. I never know when I'm reading this, is that, who is that from the past that said it that way? Did they know? Was that exactly what he said? Are they really communicating to us in the most useful way? I mean, it's all fine. There's no bad translations in there. I'm not really taking away bad translations. I'm just trying to shine a little more light on Toei Sensei's words. I have lots more personal examples, which I can tell you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, someone else, please. Joni Jackson, our student here on Maui, she's a teacher here. She's 6th degree black belt, if you don't know. She's out here somewhere. Let me see. Joni Jackson, where are you? Turn your, can you speak? Yeah, Joni, unmute yourself and turn your video on if you can. Can you speak to me? You won't come on camera until you speak, Joni. Can you speak? Yes. No? She can't speak? I guess something's wrong. Anyway, Joni actually went to the Kiatsu school in Japan. So no one else in Maui was fortunate enough to be able to do that. But she spent a couple of years just doing the Kiatsu school in the years that Koichi Toei Sensei was teaching that Kiatsu school. So she has a lot of good stories about that. And if you have a chance to work with Joni, she's very advanced in Kiatsu. And I wanted her to talk about it a little bit, but I think for some reason she can't talk. She has a little bit old equipment. Maybe this is why. But can I ask someone else to pick up?
Sensei, Prakash.
Yes, Prakash.
Yeah, Sensei, I was fortunate enough to work with Shinichi Toei Sensei, and I was to give him Kiatsu, and I took hold of his arm and started to give him Kiatsu, and he said, "No, do nothing." And so then he demonstrated, and I was flooded with ki, but he wasn't extending ki or doing anything. He was just being present with me. Yeah. And so I experienced what the difference was.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So that's the blessing of being able to train with someone who has a lot of free ki, let's say. Right. It's open and it's coming because of all the practice that they've done. so that even if it's not Kiatsu, like for instance, one day in Las Vegas, he was teaching standing kokudosa. And people were having a very difficult time with it. It's very not easy to do, yes? And he came up to me and he said, I want you to help me teach them this. Let me show you. And he held my arm. And what happened there? Something happened. Anyway, he held my arm and it was very, very soft and very nice. And he said, this is the wrong way. And then he held my arm again. And it was amazing. It was still very soft, but it was much more powerful in the feeling that it gave me. And he said, this is the way. You can do this, so please go help me. I hope I did a good job helping him, but it was quite an experience. And so, you know, and these guys, we're sort of amateurs, aren't we? I mean, I do lots of Aikido, I mean, and have for many, many years. But no, I don't do much Aikido compared to Shinichi Tohei sensei. I mean, he's a monk. He's an Aikido monk, right? So that's all he does is Aikido, 24/7 every day. I have a big company. I have a big family. I have other responsibilities. So it's not only Aikido I do. I mean, I probably do more Aikido than most people, but still, compared to Shinichi Tohei sensei, he was born the year I started Aikido. Did you know that? Shinichi Tohei sensei was born, and he was named after my teacher, Shinichi Suzuki sensei, was Koichi Tohei sensei's best friend. And so when he was, so Shinichi Suzuki was the only one invited to go to the hospital with Tohei sensei and Mrs. Tohei when little Shinichi sensei was born. And they named him Shinichi sensei right there after my teacher. Yeah? And it happened to be just before Suzuki sensei left Japan and went to Maui, and when I first met him. So Shinichi sensei has been on earth the number of years that I've been training, but his training, well, for one thing, Tohei sensei was his dad, was his father, so he was probably trained from birth, we could say, but his training has been so intense, and we're very, very fortunate, you know, to have him. And I probably don't want to say more than that about it right now, but I'd like to hear from you about Kiatsu. What about Alexei in Moscow? Do you practice Kiatsu?
Unfortunately, not so many, just a few. And that is why I'm still, how to say, not believe to this formal way, how we do this in a dojos or seminars, but I really believe in what you said in the beginning about natural Kiatsu, like being together, like hugs, or just being close to somebody. And I'm really believe in this one and feel this, but unfortunately not have so much practice in a, I would say, not a formal one, but what we perform in seminars.
Well, yes, I get that. And, you know, this is the case of ki breathing. This is the case of ki meditation. And this is the case of every aspect of Aikido. When you think about cutting one time correctly with bokken, this is exactly the same problem. People try to cut correctly. They try to teach how to do Kiatsu. They try to do Kiatsu to fix someone. They try to make Kiatsu a magic pill. Now, Kiatsu is not that. It's a natural thing. If it's not a natural thing, I don't want it. And the same thing is true with just cutting bokken one time. It's completely natural. If it isn't, I don't think so. I don't want to. This is a really good point. You have a natural. Well, I know you, and I know that you aren't easily fooled by something fake, and you have an eye out for it all the time. You're always looking for something that is not real. Oh, but please just enjoy your training and share with your students this, please, so that they really have the feeling of positive inspiration. Because naturalness is positive inspiration all the way. So I'm getting a note that I have a chat here. Jonah, can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Oh, good. I don't know what's going on with my my situation here, but anyway, hi. Well, oh gosh, Sensei, Kiatsu for me is a very, very personal, extremely personal, and all that you're saying is true. But I couldn't even tell someone to try to teach it to someone. I have to say I'm not able to do it because it's every time I want to give, do Kiatsu for someone or share Kiatsu. I won't say share, I guess. My practice evolves exponentially. It's amazing. It deepens. It's such a sensitive and subtle depth to. I don't know. I could go on and on, but anyway. So Kiatsu for me is oh gosh, to put it into words is very, very difficult. And also, when I learned Kiatsu in Japan, there really were no words. It was all in Japanese, and I was the only haole or gaijin, or whatever you want to call me, at the time in the 80s in Japan. And nothing was translated, but it was me and Toei Sensei, and the only translation was experience. And so it was so deeply personal, it makes it harder to when the feel is just but yeah, anyway, I don't know what else I can say here, but it's just a giving. It's a giving thing, and you're right. You don't have to do anything like Lynn holding Suzuki Sensei's hand, just being in the same room and just caring about another person. This is Kiatsu. Kiatsu is just genuine. It's just a genuine caring and giving, and anything else is something different, is not it. And I guess that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you figured out how to allow us to hear you. Yeah,
No, I didn't.
it happened. People often say, could you teach how to teach? No, I can't teach how to teach.
Really hard.
It's too personal. Just like what you said, you can't really take it from here and put it over there because you come upon it and it's deeply personal. But Johnny, that you shouldn't be teaching Kiatsu to people because just like me, teaching people every Sunday how to cut bokken. I only want you to cut bokken once. Truly. Right? That's what I keep telling you. And we do it times, but I only want you to do it once. Well, that is an incredibly personal experience. But it's personal, and I think maybe I'm going to say this because you can correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, but I think what you mean by personal is because it's so empty. It's not personal because it's selfishly personal. Not personal.
No, not at all. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes. Yes, it's so without words.
Yeah,
I use the word personal, but it's without words.
it's like, yeah, it's very difficult to express. And that's the case with all of this teaching. It's extremely difficult to express if you're teaching the real deal. It's very easy to express the form. Anybody, any fool can learn the form. Anybody can teach the form. That doesn't mean you shouldn't learn the form. Please learn the form. Yeah. But what you really want is to have this experience, is to begin to have those blockages drop away and drop away and drop away and drop away, so that your whole life begins to change. Suzuki Sensei called it living life completely. He said, that's all I want you to do, Chris, is live your life completely without hesitation, without holding back. Well, if I was in control of that, I could have immediately lived my life completely. But it took me years and years and years to only live it to the extent that I am. And I'm sure there's an infinite amount of more living possible for me. And I know there is for you. Toby Vogels, can you say something about Kiatsu? I know that you have a Kiatsu school there. I mean, you teach, you folks have Kiatsu. Your father is your father here today? Not here. Well, maybe you could represent the family, please.
Yeah, well, I think it's, we practice Kiatsu now and then, not so often, but my mom and dad have a Reiki school also next to the dojo. What I find difficult is, in your words, you're saying, okay, it's you have to practice being together with somebody else, with, you know, sitting together. And yet there's a whole school in Japan which teaches you the lines or the about the body, and there's a whole school behind it, which we don't have access to unless you go there, or unless somebody, you know, teaches something of it. So I'm always really careful about where to tread and where to go when teaching Kiatsu classes.
You know, the lines are, I've taught you, haven't I taught you the lines? I mean,
Yeah.
available in the West. They're in
Yeah.
at least the back side is, not the front side.
Yeah, so but that seems limited somehow. So if you just practice those lines and that's it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
these points is what he's talking about. He doesn't want you to be tied to that. It's useful, but so what are you really saying about? Is there something you feel that's missing in your training?
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I cannot compare it with what they are teaching in Japan. So what I don't understand or what I don't see is, you know, what is it then like if you go to the Kiatsu school? What are they teaching there? Which maybe is not in the book Kiatsu book, where you have all these descriptions. So what is going on? And I know that when I see people do Kiatsu at headquarters to other people, especially when Katoka Sensei did it, he would say, okay, this line is connected to this foot. If I wiggle it here, it will hurt there. So all these things, where did it come? Where does that come from? What is it?
That just came from Katoka Sensei's mind. Okay.
Can I possibly address that, Sensei?
Yes.
Can I help? I mean, because when I was in the Kiatsu school in Japan, and yes, that is what they teach. But we were it's just well, levels of understanding, I guess. This is a basic. It's like Sensei, what are the beginning and the middle, and this is like connecting the dots. And the beginning of learning an art and Aikido, that's the lines. And after that, to really do Kiatsu, it goes beyond that to letting the lines go. That's what I have to say. That's my offering. Back to you.
Thank you. Actually, yes, the Kaisho, Gyosho, Sosho is what she's talking about, of course. And it's the form first. And so, but of course, if you want to learn the form, you learn the form. And then if you keep staying with it and you have a teacher that's willing to teach you, then you can move on to some key movement happening instead of just the form. And finally, you can let go of the form altogether. And as Joni says, be free. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything or ask anything about that? I don't want to leave it if there's any question about it.
Sensei, Tracy had a question.
Okay, Tracy?
Tracy?
Yes, here I am. So I was just thinking of it when you were talking about what your answer to the Kiatsu thing. It made me think of practicing or cultivating compassion, and of course, on a deeper level, as there's levels and levels of everything. When you cultivate compassion, it's regardless if you actually know the technical, just by holding and touching some compassionately and being in their pain and suffering, that's just basically what you guys are talking about in Kiatsu.
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. Okay, so everything that we do in Aikido is like this. Kiatsu is just one example. We have many, many, many practices. All of them we have to, just like learning to drive a car or ride a surfboard or whatever you're doing, writing, reading, whatever you're doing, you learn the form first. Don't get attached to it, but learn it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. And you're not going to deal with any moving ki at that level. Then you move on and you add some key movement to it. Easy, little bit at a time, like working a cake batter together. And then finally, when you get mature in this, then you don't even need the form anymore. You're free. But you can't go from no form to no form. You have to go through the form. And then you can be free. Okay, so that's my take on it. And that's basically what everybody has been saying tonight. Please practice deeply. Thank you very much.